Hi guys, and welcome to Learn Extra Live. This is grade 10, physical science. Finally, I've been so excited for today. If you don't know who I am, because I haven't been on the show for so long, my name is Indiana, and next to me is Tracy.
Hello, it's nice to have you back.
I know, it's lovely. I've missed all of you guys so much.
And we get to play today.
So we get to have lots and lots of fun today, guys. So grade 10s, grade 11s, and grade 12s. Keep tuning in to learn more and to learn extra. I'll be with you the entire day. I also want to thank Liberty for being so awesome, for sponsoring the show. You guys rock.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're very, very cool. So Tracy, I think let's give the mindsets a bit of a taste of what we're talking about tonight.
Today we're going to look at magnetism, which you guys would have done a little bit in grade 9. Hopefully you've done it. We've actually got some magnets in the studio. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about magnetic fields, how they're created, why they're important to us on the Earth, because they actually are quite important. It's quite fascinating. So I think it's going to be an interesting lesson.
I think it's going to be lots of fun. Trace, you can take your spot, and what I'll do is have a chat to the mindsetters. Guys, don't forget that we will be giving away a Casio calculator in today's show, also in grade 11 and grade 12. So keep tuning in if you are watching. The way you get this is you just have to comment and you have to post and you have to interact on the Facebook page. It's even better if you make friends, start little study groups and ask lots and lots of questions. Just in case you don't know, our Facebook is facebook.com/learnextra. Also chat to us on Twitter @learnextra, and we'll be helping you throughout the entire lesson. We'll be answering questions in the last 15 minutes of the show, so be sure to get them in. So Trace, let's get on it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Indiana.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, so guys, as I said earlier, we're doing magnetism. So we've got to start with what is a magnetic field. So this is actually a definition. It's a region in space where a magnet or an object of magnetic material will experience a non-contact force. This is really important. Okay, it's a non-contact force. Magnetic fields, you don't need to be touching them. Though, most of the time when we deal with magnets, like your fridge magnets or anything like that, they actually are in contact with something. That's because of the force between them, but they don't need to be in contact. Remember, there are actually only 3 magnetic things that are magnetic: iron, nickel, and cobalt. Okay, those are the only 3 naturally magnetic elements, which means anything that's magnetic, anything that's going to be attracted to a magnetic field or affected by a magnetic field has to have one of those elements in, or a combination of those elements in them. So that's really, really important. Now, what we need to talk about is where does this magnetism come from? Because it's this thing that happens, and where does it come from? So we're going to talk about a concept called magnetic domains. Now, grade 10s, inside any material, we have our electrons which move around. Scientists aren't 100% sure, so you've got to understand this is still very much a theory of what's happening. But essentially inside any piece of material, so this is like a microscopic view, we're looking really, really close. And over here, this would represent a bunch of electrons, okay? And it's a whole group of electrons that are there. So over here, we have a whole bunch of electrons. And it's got to be a group, it's not just one. You've learned, hopefully, that the electrons spin on the axis as they spin around the atom. That spinning, that movement, creates a magnetic field. The direction that it's spinning in determines the direction of that magnetic field. When you have a whole bunch of them together, like over here, we have a whole bunch of that together that then create what we call a magnetic domain. So they create a region of space inside this material which has a magnetic field that points in a specific direction. With a piece of material like this one, which is unmagnetized, all these domains point all over the place, so they're random. Okay, so we have some that point in that direction, that one points there, we've got some that are pointing down, some that are pointing sideways, some are pointing in the other direction. All those little magnetic fields going all over the place cancel each other out. So this material is not magnetic. But if I force, and we'll talk about how to do that in a second, if I force all these domains to face in a specific direction, then I've created a magnet. So if I can force them to do this, which is what this needle is showing, where all the domains, so we have these, okay, this is unmagnetized. So here we have a whole set of, in these little groups that are facing the same way, okay? If I force all of these domains let me make sure you can actually see that, shall I? If I force all of them to, say, point in one direction, it becomes magnetized. Because now all the magnetic fields work in the same way. But how do we do that? I'm hoping some of you might have done this in school, but I don't know. It's actually quite easy to magnetize like a sewing needle. You can take a sewing needle and just rub a magnet over it in the same direction all the time, and there we get, we make all the domains go into one direction. Another way we can do this is through electricity. Okay, so if I wind a coil around this, if this is like an iron nail, and I pass a current through that coil, the magnetic field created by the current, which is something you're going to do in a lot of detail in grade 11 and 12, will make all these domains move and face in one direction. So we get a nice permanent magnet, okay? Not all magnets are permanent. I hope you guys realize that. Things like in scrap yards, which of course something they like to do in movies where they like to kill off somebody and they pick them up in a car and they have that huge big magnet. That's not a permanent magnet. That's an electromagnet. That's only magnetic when there's an electric current flowing through it. That's a whole other ball game which we'll talk about in grade 11 and 12. But permanent magnets are ones where through a process, either naturally, remember we have a thing called lodestone, which is found in different parts of the world, and lodestone is naturally magnetic, and no one really understands why that is, but it's there. Or because we take our three, and it's generally iron that we use, we take our three magnetic pieces of material, and we magnetize them using an electric current, or using lodestone, which is what we can do. And we force all the domains to fit in, to move in one direction. So, we're now, okay, so we have our permanent magnets. Now, before we go on to the whole thing of magnetic force, and then I'm going to get Indy to help me, okay, what I have is I brought some magnets. Not just yet, it's okay.
Okay,
Right,
I'm so excited.
I'm pretty sure you guys have magnets like this at school, okay, most schools do, and I'm pretty sure if they're anything like the ones I have, they don't work very well. Why? Because they've been dropped too many times. Because people are clumsy and it happens and they just get knocked off tables and, being teenagers, we play games with them because we can. But these at one stage were really, really strong permanent magnets. They're not now at all. When they get dropped, every time they hit the floor, those domains actually get shifted and pushed out of alignment, which is why they're no longer permanent magnets. But this one's actually nicely marked because you can see the north is the red side, the blue is the south side. It's the same on this one, it's just not as clearly marked. But I need you to get something out of your heads right now. Just because there's a line down the middle of these magnets does not mean that if I break this magnet in half, okay, if I could, that all of a sudden this orange part, it's actually orange, not red, this orange part would just be a north pole. Because it can't. If we go back to how we've drawn the domains, they have a beginning and an end. They go in a specific direction. And that's what our magnetic fields do. Okay, magnetic fields are very, very specific. They don't just have any random direction. So when we break these magnets, okay, if I broke this in half, if I could, I would get a north and a south pole again, and a north and a south pole. And I can keep doing that endlessly. If I could get it down to a microscopic level, then I would be able to make little tiny magnets. But we can't, so we won't do that, okay? Please understand that. Just because there's a line doesn't mean I can break it in half and get a north pole and a south pole and nothing else. Now I do need Indy's help. Okay, so Indy's going to come over here and help me. Okay, what we have here, she's very excited.
Okay.
This is why I like working with you, because I can do fun things with you. Okay.
Right?
So, Indy's got a horseshoe magnet, which has a north and a south pole on it. We just don't know which one's which. Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have two little magnets. Now, please understand something. These are very strong magnets. They're much stronger than the bigger ones I just showed you, just because they haven't been dropped as much.
And I'm hoping that they'll be able to see this,
Yeah,
because
me too.
I'll tell you what I feel though.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to try, and I think it's the North Pole, I'm going to try put it, okay, I can't put it on that side, okay? So you can all see quite easily that it get stuck there.
And it's
Now,
quite strong as well.
yeah, I know, it's great. Oh, we're actually on that camera, by
Oh,
the
there
way.
you go.
Um,
Just in case.
when I want to go on this side, now this one's easy. Okay, now watch here. I'm going to try. You're not,
Oh,
I really am trying. I know it doesn't look like, it doesn't want to, okay? Because, tell your magnet to behave, Indy.
behave, magnet.
It's not listening.
It won't.
Okay. And
It
you can
literally
see it-
won't let me.
You can see it over here. There's nothing,
Yeah.
because these poles are the same. So this is a north pole and a north pole.
And I can feel it pushing against.
Yeah, and it'll move, and I'm holding it
Oh.
very lightly. Okay. If I turn this around, now watch what. Oh, you see? Now that's
Easy.
friends. Now it's going to be hard to take it away. Okay.
Friends.
And if we turn your magnet around, now we're going to go try to do this again. Just
not,
doesn't like it, okay?
not
Because these
friends.
are like poles. No,
Yeah.
not at all. You know, I think this is where the whole thing of opposites attract.
Exactly,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah. So,
I've heard about this.
yeah, I don't think
Hey,
it really always
opposites.
works in real life, but that's okay. We'll just. Okay, so we have, and it's quite strong, and this is, we have an
Yeah.
outcome workout for the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
But we can do the same with these. So let's use the other one,
Okay.
so they can see we weren't just jerking it.
And this
Okay.
one we're gonna make it wiggle.
Yeah, we're going to make
We're
them
gonna make it
wiggle. Watch.
now.
Okay, so let me see which side you've got. These are marked with little grooves on them, okay? So I'm going to put the ones that are the same, and I'm going to try. You see, it doesn't?
I'm holding it lightly.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I'm not moving it.
Yeah, I'm not moving mine either. So you can see it doesn't, it really doesn't want to be friends. See, it wants to be friends with the end. See, it likes
yeah,
your
yeah,
fingers.
It likes my fingers.
Okay,
Not the end there.
the point is these are, and if I, see, it likes a specific end because these are the same.
And then
So if I was being, there we go. See, I can move it around there.
Ooh.
You see?
and I'm holding it very lightly, guys.
And now if
Oh,
I,
there you go.
they're nice and strong because they're opposite. Okay. Can my magnets back, please?
There you can. Can I go
Thanks.
back to my seat?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thanks, Trace.
Okay. All right. So the point is, what are we getting here? And you guys know this. You've seen this before. Like poles are attracted to each other, and unlike poles are repelled away from each other. So no, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I did that last week as well. Okay. So like poles become attracted to each other. So what I mean by like poles is if I had to put a north pole over here and a south pole over here, we're not worried about the rest of it. These two will automatically want to come together because they are attracted to each other. Okay, so like, oh, those are unlike poles. Indy, I'm telling them rubbish today.
Oh no, Tracy. Just
Okay,
fix
let's
it on
try
her.
that again, shall
Try
we?
again. Take two.
Okay, because there's retakes on live
If
TV.
only, yeah, there is.
Okay, anyway,
Forget.
two north poles, those are the same, I apologize, will repel each other. They move away from each other. Or if I had a south pole and a south pole, they will repel each other as well. Unlike poles, being our north pole and our south pole, and I'm pretty sure someone along the way is going to be asking me, where did they get the north and south? I don't know why they called them north and south on the magnetic poles. I'm sorry, I don't.
Don't know what.
Don't know why, so please don't ask. So what will happen here is these are going to actually move towards each other, so they are going to attract each other. So like poles repel, unlike poles attract. This is actually quite nice because it gives us a way to decide which pole is which if we don't know. If we have a magnet that we do know which is the north and south pole, and we want to know the north or south pole of another one, we can bring them together and see what happens, okay, as long as they are strong enough for us to work that out. But how do we represent this magnetic field? And I think Indy found some nice pictures which we are putting on Facebook, which is really good.
I'll
If
put
we
them
now
on
go
right now.
to my little simulation over here, now what I have here is, it's a great simulation, and over here, this is a compass. Let me just make sure that it's going to let me use it as a compass. Okay, there we go. All right, so what I have over here is I have a compass. Okay, this little thing that I'm moving around is a compass, and it swings and does all sorts of things. And I am hoping at school you get really, really tiny ones. They're really, really dinky, but they don't last very long because those magnets, when they get dropped, they just lose their magnetism so quickly. But the red part of this little compass shows me is the north pole of the compass. And the north pole points to the south pole. Okay, so you can see as I move the compass around, sure, this really doesn't want me to do this. As I move the compass around. If you look carefully at the red part, can you see it's forever pointing at the South Pole? It's forever pointing at the and then we get here, and now the South Pole points towards north. Always pointing at the South Pole, okay? And I can, if I move the magnet, it does exactly the same. Okay, the magnetic field goes with it. Now what we're going to do, and now I do one thing, Leia, is if I had to join a line here and go, ooh, no, that's, you can't see that. So let's change the color, shall we? So that you can actually see the line, because at the moment it's black, I think. Okay, there we go. If I join those together, can you see it makes a curve? Okay, if I join these ones, and it does this, these all make a curve. This is really important, because this is the shape of your magnetic field, which we're going to look at in a moment as well. It's circular, okay? You're going to see the shape often. What about the direction? Well, the direction is the direction that a compass would point, the north pole of a compass, which means the direction is from north to south. From north to south, okay? It always points south, because the north pole of a compass will always point towards the south pole of a magnet, okay? Now, how do we draw that? This is how we draw it. This is so important, grade 10s. You're going to get this often. So what we have here is, and it's, I'm not sure if you can see it completely, and I've realized my lettering is now upside down. Well, it's sideways, north and south. Okay, so it goes out the north, into the south, out the north, into the south. What's important to remember here, grade 10s? This is not a flat magnetic field. We draw it flat because if you're anything like me, I have no artistic ability. There's not a chance I can draw this as three-dimensional, but it is three-dimensional. So when I consider my magnet, the magnetic field is everywhere around this magnet, not just on the flat part, but everywhere, all around it. Okay? There is a specific distance that that you can experience the magnetic field. So it's strongest right on top of the magnet, weakest as we go along, and we can see this when the magnetic field lines are really close together. Okay, so when the magnetic field lines are really, really close together, that's where we can see it the best. When they get further apart, like we've drawn them over here, the magnetic field's getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So the arrows show the direction, and how close they are shows the strength of the magnetic field. Now, I just want to do one more thing before we take a break. If I have two like poles, so over here, let's make this a north pole and a north pole, how does the magnetic field change? Now, remember, they repel away from each other. So what happens is the magnetic field from this north does that, and this one does that. And they will continue around the magnet. Okay, that doesn't disappear. You would have to go all the way around the magnet. I'm just saving some time. So it goes all the way around the magnet still. Ooh, okay. So it still does that. But the important thing here for us is that it doesn't matter how close we bring them, these poles will not, you cannot get them to cross. Okay? And remember, it's gonna the direction is gonna be away from the North Pole. Okay? If we make it two south poles, the shape is exactly the same. Still does that. I drew them a little close together, but it's okay. So it's still, and we can all tell right now why I don't teach art.
I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's a little sci-fi-ish. Anyway, but now the direction goes in here. And what makes these two poles move away from each other, why they're not attracted to each other anymore, is because of the fact that the magnetic field between them gets so, there's so much there, okay? They just don't like it. So they'll move away from each other to try and relieve that pressure. If we have unlike poles, and the last thing we're going to do, and then I'm going to let you take a bit of a break, if I put a north and a south, now this is a happy situation. What actually happens is your magnetic field does this. Okay, so in the inside, it does this. And then, so this does this a little bit, and then eventually it'll start to go around again. We're not too worried about that part. Okay? Then eventually it'll go around, and eventually it'll go around here again because it has to. Okay? And remember, it's going to go from north to south, so it goes in this direction. Okay? And this one goes out, and that one goes that way, and this one goes in. Oh, no, wrong way. It goes this way. Sure. It's only Tuesday. It's going to be a long week. Okay. And this is why they're attracted, because it likes the situation that we have over here. Because those magnetic fields are going, oh, we're friendly. We're all going in the same direction. Let's all spend some time together. Okay? So what we're going to do there, it's a nice place to take a bit of a break, Indy, I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's take a break while we're at it. Keketso says she's feeling a bit fluey, but she's still wanting to learn more and learn extra. So Keketso, feel better. She also said that I should tell you, Tracy, that they did an experiment today where they put a paper over a magnet bar and put iron fillings on the paper.
Brilliant.
Filings.
Fillings from your teeth, yes, brilliant. Anyway, yes.
And they saw a pattern.
That's brilliant.
So what I have said is that I think we're showing a picture of it later.
We do. We found one earlier. It's,
Yes.
Koketo, you did the same thing as I showed you with the simulation. We just couldn't show it
Yeah.
on air. It's
So
brilliant.
what I wanted to tell you guys before we take a break is that I will be posting that picture of the piece of paper and what a magnet looks like underneath with all the filings. So guys, take a quick break and we'll see you in but a second. See you now. Hi guys and welcome back to Learn Extra Live Physics with grade 10. I hope you're all having an awesome show. I just want to give a quick shout out to Liberty for making this awesome show possible. Also, Zolilwa says, Waza, hello mindsetters, feeling so energetic today. So opposite poles attract, like guys and girls.
I like it. So I might remember it. Yes.
Okay, so guys, don't forget to chat to us on facebook.com/learnextra, also on Twitter @learnextra. And let's not take any more minutes or seconds away from Tracy. So without further ado, Trace, take it away.
Thanks, Indiana. Well, opposite poles attract. Isn't that why we go, I want the bad boy?
Exactly.
Anyway,
Exactly.
never really works that way, but that's besides the point. So, before the break, we looked at magnetic fields and we looked at opposite poles and like poles. And but why is it important to us? Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is some applications, and I have a really nice picture of a compass. In fact, I brought one into the studio. It's very similar. This is a very old style compass. One of these, I'm not very good at it. People who do, it's a sport called orienteering. They actually don't use a GPS like I have in my car, which is so much easier. They use one of these, and the point for the compass is it's made of a magnetic bar in the middle, which is an arrow, and the north pole of it always points towards north. So no matter how I hold the compass, and this one's a little confused today, I'm afraid, it will always point north. Okay, so that's the whole point, is then I would then move my compass around so that the north pole is in line with the compass, which now says north that way, and it was that way just now. But that's okay. It's probably all the electronic equipment and the computers and the TV that's interfering. They all
And
have.
my sheer magnetism.
Oh, absolutely.
My sheer magnetism.
Will
Hey,
your
it's probably
magnetic
that.
personality.
It's pulling it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
my fault.
Anyway, moving on.
Carry on, Trace.
Yeah. The things we say on air. Moving on. So, but a compass is a really good indication for us. Okay, so it's a nice application. It's what we use all the time. The next application is actually a really nice one, and it's very, very interesting, and it's the Earth's magnetic field. Now here I'm going to confuse you a little, so keep with me. Earlier today I said to you that the north pole of a magnet, of a compass, points towards the south, okay? Because like poles have to attract. Now, within the Earth, okay, the Earth is considered to be one big giant magnet. Not 100% sure why that is. It has a magnetic field around it, okay? Now, it's not a magnetic field that we can experience in the sense that all our magnets experience and they're all affected by it. It's not like that at all. But because of the iron core that we have in our Earth and the fact that it's moving and it's hot and it's molten, we have this magnetic field around the Earth. So we can think of the Earth as a big, giant magnet where I'm going to put a south here and a north there, okay? On the Earth, we know the top of the Earth as being north. So here, this line that's going through my Earth over here, we call that magnetic north and south, okay? So that's my magnetic north and south, which we put directly through. But all the geography people know that actually the line that runs this way through the Earth, which is at an angle, is our, I'm not going to write it there because you're not going to be able to see it, so it's not great. This is geographic north and south, okay? And this angle here, this little angle between the two, is 11,5 degrees. I think that's what it is. Yep, 11,5 degrees. So that means that even though magnetically we consider the north to be the top here, the geographic north is slightly over. In reality, it's how we discuss it. But over here, I've now drawn this as being a north pole and a south pole. So now I'm going to freak you. You got to think about this really carefully. In order for the north pole of a compass needle to point towards the north pole of the Earth, doesn't that actually have to be a south pole? Because otherwise, we're going to have a north pole being attracted to a north pole, and I just told you that like poles repel. So essentially what it means is that when we look at our compass, well, our magnet around the Earth, the top is actually a magnetic south. It's actually a south pole, just because it's confusing. And the bottom is a north pole, okay? And geographically, north pole and south pole, 11,5 degrees off where we would put the, it's not a genuine north and south, that's not a good word to describe it, but the magnetic north and south, okay? And the point is it creates this magnetic field around the Earth. And now you're probably saying, why is that important? Well, this is the stuff sci-fi movies are made out of. That magnetic pole creates, maybe I should be able to listen to my director, creates a magnetosphere. Sounds like something out of X-Men. Okay? Creates a magnetosphere. This is an illustration. This is obviously not a picture that you could get through a normal camera. It's an illustration to show you what happens. Over there, that tiny little spot, okay, in the middle, over here. That's the Earth, over there, okay? And it went on holiday. Let's go back, okay? That tiny spot is the Earth. Around the Earth, the blue stuff is our magnetosphere. That's where our magnetic field lies. This is the sun, okay? The sun gives off ionized particles. Because it's a nuclear reaction that's happening in the sun, it's where we get light from, a whole bunch of other things come off, and all these ionized particles come off the sun. Those ionized particles are radiation. That radiation is very, 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 very dangerous for us as humans, and plant life and animal life and all the rest of it. Very dangerous. This would kill us if we were exposed to it. Now what happens is, because we're looking at ions, which is moving charge, that charge is a magnetic field, that over here, that magnetic field from the ions interacts with the magnetic field from the Earth, and the magnetic field of the Earth deflects it away from us. So that actually saves us from this ion radiation, which is really important for us, because without it, we would be exposed to it and we probably wouldn't exist, okay? So that's really, really important for us with the magnetosphere. The next application, and I find this particularly fascinating, and it's something I would love to go see firsthand, is the aurora. Now, we cannot see this, even though we're quite...
It's amazing.
I have family members who have seen it live.
I want to one day, definitely.
Absolutely. And they're known as the northern lights, or that's the aurora borealis. And you have the southern lights, which is the aurora something else, which I can't remember right now. But you need to go to the magnetic poles All right, this is the aurora borealis from the North Pole, okay? And what's happening there is these northern lights, you can see different times of the year, you see them more clearly, but because of the interaction of the ions that are coming from the sun with our magnetosphere, okay, that interaction causes a whole bunch of stuff to happen within the atoms in the atmosphere, and those atoms give off these colors. They're generally green or blue. You also get beautiful pink ones and yellow ones, but those are a little rarer, okay? And this is quite a good photograph. It hasn't been photoshopped too much, but you can see that beautiful line, okay, over it. But you've got to be close to the poles. So you would see this in Alaska or Antarctica. You would see it, and in fact, you can go, I know because a family member of mine did this, went to Norway in September, I think, before it got really, really cold.
Incredible.
And saw this firsthand. So it's just absolutely beautiful to see. It's just, I think it's phenomenal, but you only see it at certain times of the, well, really, really well at certain times of the year. You can't see it where we live because, one, if you live in a city, we have too many lights in the sky anyway, so you hardly see any stars in the first place. We have too much light interference, but also because we're not far enough south. Okay, so it's also got to do with the tilt of the Earth and the way it interferes, but it's absolutely beautiful. Another thing that's actually quite important, and I don't have a picture for it, is animals use the magnetic sphere to guide their paths. Have you ever thought about the fact that, you know, birds migrate? So birds will go from the northern hemisphere. When it's winter in the northern hemisphere, they'll migrate to the southern hemisphere because they want the summer, and then they'll go back in the other direction. And have you ever thought about the fact that birds don't have compasses? They don't have a pilot. They don't have a guidebook or a map book. They just know where they're going. That's because something, and no one really understands how it works, but they can tell from the magnetic field in the Earth. There's also a theory that says that animals are more aware of when there's going to be earthquakes or tsunamis or anything like that because they can sense the differences in the magnetic field of the Earth when that's about to happen, which I find quite incredible. Personally, I'm quite glad I don't feel that because I think it would be quite scary all the time. But I guess they're going to.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, no,
I
me
don't
neither.
know.
I'll just hide on my desk.
Yeah.
But it's just incredible to know that they have a way of knowing where they need to be, when they need to be, because of this magnetic field, which is absolutely phenomenal in my book. Okay, now before I go on to any of the questions I have, because I have a couple prepared, it's all very wordy, I'm afraid. Is there anything, is anyone talking to us yet?
Yeah, well, we have a few. We don't have any questions as such, but let me just do a little thing. Taborja says, wow, so is the magnetic field also protecting us from the sun's radiation?
Some of the radiation. It's protecting us from the ions that come off. So it's protecting us from the really, really bad radiation. Radiation is such a hard word because we use it to mean a lot of stuff. Okay, it's not protecting us from UV radiation. It's not protecting us from gamma radiation or any of that sort of stuff. It's, well, maybe a little bit of gamma. It's from the ions that come off during the chemical reaction that's happening in the nuclear reaction. So it is protecting us from that. So it's nuclear radiation, basically.
That's awesome. And guys, there's some awesome questions coming through on the page. You ready for another one?
Let's do this.
Guys, while I'm chatting to you, keep those questions coming. Send them in. If there's anything you're not understanding, you never know. Somebody else might not be understanding it too. So no question is a silly question. Seriously. So this one is from Kashifa.
Yes.
I'm just going to read it out. It's a long one. She likes to send me long letters on the Facebook page.
Brilliant.
She says, don't they say that every object has a magnetic field, but size plays a big role in the strength of it? That's what I heard. Like the moon and the earth have a magnetic field, but the strength of the magnetic field between the sun and the earth is stronger. Is that true, or am I just confused?
I think you're confusing Kashifa with gravitational field. Okay, not everything has a magnetic field, because imagine if we had one, that would be a bit scary. But I think you're confusing it with a gravitational field, and everything does have a gravitational field, okay, and that's one of Newton's laws, and that says that every object attracts every object in the universe. Whether that object moves towards you or not is dependent on the size of the objects involved. And the Earth's gravitational field is less than the moon's is less than the Earth because the moon is smaller than the Earth, but the moon definitely doesn't have a magnetic field, okay, because it doesn't have the same core we have. So not everything has a magnetic field. Not at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Good question, though.
Okay, so Tracy.
I've changed names. Okay. Well, I do.
I was reading on the page. Somebody was saying, Kathy, don't get upset with me, Tracy.
I won't.
Come now. Come. Before I know it, she's going to be calling me Tai or Kaklejo, hey? I think I quite like it. Do you want to go to a break? You want to forge on?
I think let's go to a quick break and then we'll spend the last part doing questions.
Okay, guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to a quick break. But before that, I'm going to get you to please, I think we're going to have about, the show's going to nearly be finished, and that's when we really need the questions. So please let us know if there's anything that Tracy has been going over that you haven't been understanding. Also, don't forget that we're giving away a snazzy calculator. So get those comments and questions in. Who knows, you could be winning one of those for yourself. See you now after the break. Hi guys, and welcome back from the break. Can you believe it that we've got about 20 minutes left in the show? So please make sure that you do send those questions through, and we'll run through them with Tracy at the end of the show. And Nele, I just wanted to wave at you and say hello, as well as Yawanda. It's so nice to see you guys. Guys, send through those questions. It's nearly the end of the show. Tracy, take it away.
Okay, guys, what I've done is I've actually prepared some questions for you to look at. Now, we could spend forever for me to just dictate the answers to you, but we don't want to do that. These are very typical type questions, and it's pretty much all you can get asked. Magnetism in grade 10 is a nice small section. So the first thing is describe what is meant by the term a magnetic field. So that's what we did right at the beginning of the show, and you would write here magnetic field is a region in space, is a field in a region of space where another magnetic object will feel a non-contact force. Okay? But remember, you can't just say it's when something will experience a non-contact force. You've got to be specific. It's a magnetic force, okay? And it's got to be another magnetic material. So it's got to be something that is magnetic in nature. So that was pretty simple. We are going to actually run through them really quickly. Now it says explain why permanent magnets have a magnetic field around them. Now, there's lots of ways we can ask this. If I was looking for something very specific, if I asked this in a test or an exam, I would then look at the mark allocation as a teacher and go, well, how many facts do I actually want? How much waffle do I want them to write? This is really important in grade 10s. You don't want to write a lot of waffle. Okay, and what I mean by that is just write because you can. Because if you just write because you can, you're not actually showing any understanding. I have actually matric marked at the end of the year, and we sort of go, well, you know what, if like 3 lines in and you're going nowhere, we stop marking, because all you're trying to do is remember everything you've learned and hope that something right gets popped into what's happening here. Now, what happens here is, why do permanent magnets have a magnetic field? So these are the key things we would be looking for. Electrons have magnetic fields around them. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm looking for. So electrons have magnetic fields. So this type of thing I'm wanting you to write. Then, in magnetic materials, okay, groups of electrons form domains. And I'm just going to put that to say electrons form domains which point in random directions. Okay? If the domains all point in the same direction, or are forced, it's a good way to put it, wrong one, that's the one I want, are forced to point in the same direction, the object becomes magnetic. Okay, our object becomes magnetic. So that's quite important for us. Okay, the object becomes magnetic. Now, we could have asked you to use pictures as well. So by pictures, you would draw something similar to what we had earlier. So what we have is we have our piece of material, and we draw a whole bunch of things, and we say, well, these are the domains that are pointing in random directions, and make sure that you label it so your teacher knows what those random little arrows are, okay? And you would draw much nicer than this, and then you go, well, once it becomes magnetic, all of these point in the same direction. So what we have here is this is non-magnetic, or it's not magnetized, and this is a magnet. Okay? You don't need anything else from that. So it's actually quite easy to do as long as you don't waffle. Okay? Oh, what is a magnet? Now we get to like, ooh, can't really be that simple. Well, a magnet is anything that is able to create a magnetic field. Simple as that. Anything that's able to create a magnetic field around it. Let's do one more. Unless Indy, ooh, wrong way. Indy, you got any questions for me yet?
No questions
No.
as of yet. Guys, send them in, please. Send those
Okay.
questions in.
I'm probably going to cover most of them anyway.
Yeah, well, there you
Yeah.
go.
What happens to the poles of a magnet if it is cut into pieces?
And if they know the answer, they should shout out on the page too.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely.
Yeah,
It'd
yeah,
be nice
yeah.
to see that where they answer it before I
Yeah.
do.
So if you know the answers, guys, shout
Yeah.
them out.
What happens to the poles? Well, you've got to understand, and this is what I was talking about. When we cut it in pieces, remember I said to you, we might cut it in pieces, but the poles don't disappear. Each new piece from the magnet will get a north and a south pole. And you can do this infinitely, okay, until you can get right down to the baby tiny little magnets. All right? So what I would want in an answer from here is for you to say, well, each new piece from the magnet will have a north and a south pole to it. And this can be done infinite amount of times. Okay? Then, in fact, I think Indy can answer this question today. What happens when like magnetic poles are brought close together?
They repel.
They repel. There we
Repel.
go. Oops, you see? Indy?
I'm so glad I got that right.
Well, me too. Except this doesn't want to write.
You know me when I get,
You get nervous.
I get
but you know
nervous.
that means we've learned something.
yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So, and then what happens when unlike magnetic poles are brought close together?
They attract.
They attract. Okay? Now,
Opposites attract.
absolutely.
There you
See?
go.
It's a good way to remember it.
Yeah.
Grade 10s, please be careful here. There's nothing here that says explain or describe or why does this happen. This is enough, okay? I know my learners, I fight with them all the time. They write too much. Don't explain something if you don't have to, okay? One, you're very likely going to contradict yourself and then you lose your marks because your teacher realizes you don't know anything. And two, you're going to run out of time. Okay, you only have so much time in an exam. Don't be silly and use it on stupid things. Okay, then, I promise you, grade 10s, if your teachers are anything like me, we like this one. Draw the shape around a bar magnet. So, let's actually do a nice one. So I'm going to put my bar magnet, no, I think I'm going to have to use that one. So here we go, there's a bar magnet. Okay, let's move it so that it's not going to be completely in the way. There we go. Come on. Wow. Okay, bar magnet. Let's put it over there. Okay, has the same shape. So, there we go. I haven't put a north and a south in yet because all we're doing is drawing the shape. Okay, and we do this, and we do that, and then it would go here. We're not done yet, okay, because we need to know which is north and which is south. So let's make that the north pole. Let's make that the south pole. And now we remember that magnetic fields always go from north to south. So it goes that way round. At the north pole, into the south pole. Of course, you could have done it the other way around. It doesn't actually matter. But, oh, and I've lost my page. Wow. We are doing
no.
I don't know what. You know what? This thing's haunted. I'm telling you, it's haunted, Indy.
Oh, no,
No, really.
Trace.
It does these weird things with me.
I know, it does funny things.
Maybe it's
And
my
I-
magnetic field.
I think it is your magnetic field.
Anyway, moving on. So don't draw more than this. They didn't want between two like or unlike poles, though we could have asked that. Make it nice and simple. Make sure it's neat. Okay. Don't also grade 10s. This is a study thing. Exam tip. Don't make it so small that your teacher needs a magnifying glass to see. Okay. Because if they're tired when they mark it, which will happen because, they have families and children and other things to do, and then they have to mark this exam, and they're going, but I can't read it. They're not going to give you the marks. Because I wouldn't. But I
You
mean,
get magnifying glasses. Hey?
yeah, it's just hard work for
Make a
us.
plan.
We get old eventually.
Like, no,
Yeah,
Tracy.
no, we do. Okay. So, are you... No,
Yes.
do we have a question yet?
Yeah, we've got a few questions.
Yes.
I know we've only got a few minutes left, so let me ask. Okay, so this one's from Manele. She says, so what happens when a current carrying a conductor is placed in a magnetic field?
Oh, wow. That's grade 11
Can you
work.
explain? Oh, in grade 11. Okay.
That's
okay, Anele,
grade 11.
we're going to keep that for grade 11. Let's do that.
It's a great question, sweetie, but it's grade 11.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's
you're
have a
just a list.
look. Why does the TV turn into many colors when it's near a magnet? I nearly put it onto the screen
Yeah, I
earlier.
know, then they would
Tracy was
It-
upset.
It shouldn't happen so much with one of these TVs because this is a flat screen and it doesn't work on the same one. But your old TVs, your cathode ray TVs, because the way your that picture gets made is actually by a bunch of electrons being shot across the screen. And remember, your electrons have magnetic fields around them. So the magnetic fields around the electrons that have been shot onto the screen interfere with the magnetic field from the magnets, and then it changes the color. And I've had that actually happen to a TV. It's very annoying.
No, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this is quite a cool one, I think, from Taborho. And Taborho wants to know, what kind of effects does magnetic storm and auroras on the human race have? So does it impact us?
The auroras don't.
Yeah.
The magnetic storms it doesn't really affect us because it happens so far out in the atmosphere. And the whole point of the magnetic storms is it stops that ionic radiation from hitting us, which would be like nuclear radiation hitting us, which would destroy our cells and it would kill us. It's not pretty. But they don't have an effect as such.
I mean, apparently they're also with connections with cell phones and
It is, yeah.
electronics.
There's still so much debate
Yeah.
around the whole thing about whether cell phones, because they also obviously have the magnetic fields around them because they're electronic devices. It's so debatable. Some people go, no, it's fine. Some people go, well, it's causing brain tumors and cancer, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you
I
know,
know it's one of those things.
it's one of those things, and it's unethical to do human testing. So
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever have an answer to that one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now this one, I think a few people have been asking, and now obviously I'm trying to find the actual.
And then
I
it
know
goes
exactly
lost,
what the
then it's
question
lost.
is and who asked it.
Yes.
But basically, it's about the aurora and
Yes.
and about the difference, the australis. How do you say it? Come on, Tracy.
The what?
The borealis and then
Oh,
the
the-
astra.
Oh, then the one's the South Pole and one's North Pole.
Yes. Okay.
The aurora borealis is the North Pole.
Then it's the australis.
Yes,
Must be because that's
that's the South Pole. It's just to indicate the different poles.
Yeah.
So like it's the Arctic at the top
yeah.
of the Earth, and they get the borealis, and then the Antarctic at the bottom. I wish they'd just give them normal names so people like me can pronounce them. I actually can't
I know.
pronounce it. So I'm just not going to embarrass myself.
Okay.
But it's the other one.
Oh, so you leave me to embarrass myself.
Absolutely.
Lovely, lovely.
I
So,
know.
and okay, I'm guessing the australis, the aurora australis, I'm probably saying it completely wrong, but since it's near Australia. I
Yes,
can
it's the
only-
South Pole one.
Yeah,
So it's the one
yeah.
that happens by the Antarctic at the bottom, yeah, which is where
Okay.
it comes from, yeah.
Okay, awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, one more. I think we have time for
Time for
one
one
more
more.
question. One more. Now I've got to really
Now she's got to find it.
Yeah, I've got to find the perfect one.
Ah,
Let's have a look. Is this a magnetic flux on transformers related to magnetic fields that we are learning about?
that's also grade 11.
Also, Unity grade 11 question. So
Okay.
we'll do that when we get to there.
You are going to do it. It's definitely grade 11 work. It's actually really important. This is just, guys in grade 10, I know this sounds like it's really basic, but it is. This really is just your foundation. Next year, you're going to talk about transformers, magnetic flux, magnetic fields. We're going to talk about the moving magnetic fields. You're going to deal with how they create current. You're going to deal with all of that sort of stuff. So that is, unfortunately, grade
Okay,
11 work.
so
But it's good stuff.
let's do one more question. It's quite an interesting one, and
Cool.
whether you have the answer or not, Tracy, I don't know if she will have the answer to this one.
We'll try.
But this one's from Senshaw, and Senshaw wants to know, I read somewhere that the direction of the Earth's magnetic field flips direction every 200,000 years. Is this true?
I've also heard that. I don't know.
See, I thought that might be one of those.
Yeah, I have heard that before. I'm not 100% sure. And from a science point of view, I'm not sure I can put my head around as to why it would flip. Because remember, for it to flip, it means that the actual Earth has to flip, or something in the core has to turn around for the magnetic field to turn around. So I've heard that, but I don't know.
You know what I'll do? Okay, guys, I think we've come to the
I
end.
think we have.
Yeah, come to the end of our lesson, Tracy. You know how much I enjoy it.
Oh, thank you.
So
it's always
much.
fun being here with you. I love
Guys, I know, yeah, lots of fun. So what I do is I'll actually Google that and then let everyone know. I'll Google it and see what Google has to say.
Yep.
But thank you, grade 10s, for such an awesome show. Grade 11s, don't forget that you are next, and I hope that you grade 10s have a fantastic day. Goodbye from Tracy and I. Bye.